Hello there, I'm Hari Zainuddin and you are now watching TVS News at 5. Now let's begin with our top stories for today. Uzbekistan's ambassador to Malaysia, Ravshan Usmanov, has expressed the country's deep interest in forging cooperation with Sarawak on the basis of traditional friendship and will look into further strengthening its mutually beneficial cooperation in 3 economy pillars, including trade and investment, education, and tourism spheres.
First of all, the purpose of my visit to Sarawak is to know Sarawak well, to also find the common ground between your state and also my country. From my own vision, we have already common points of possible partnership. It is in trade, it is in education, and of course in tourism. And we have plans to make contacts and twin cities or twin partnership between Kuching and one of the cities in Uzbekistan, and also between Sarawak and one of the regions of my country, which is called Karakalpakstan.
Adding further, he said that Uzbekistan and Sarawak possess many similarities, especially in the administrative structure.
Karakalpakstan, this is the region in Uzbekistan which has semi-autonomy, and the administrative structure is similar to Sarawak. So I hope that this cooperation will happen. And by the way, the distance between Tashkent, it's the capital of Uzbekistan, and Nukus, this is the capital of Karakalpak, is the same distance as between Kuching and KL. So we have many things in common, and I hope this cooperation will come true.
He said so when met by reporters after a courtesy visit to the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Sarawak Tun Pehin Sri Abdul Taib Mahmud at his residence in Demak Jaya on Friday.
Now, the state government has pledged their full support to 2 state football teams, namely Sarawak United FC and Kuching City FC. Minister of Youth, Sports and Entrepreneur Development, Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, said the support given are in terms of financial support as well as providing top-tier training facilities.
Karim said although both teams are considered private clubs, the state government will still give their full support as the clubs carries the pride of Sarawak's football.
It is my hope to see all the players of Sarawak United FC to give their full dedication and with the aim to win every matches that they are going to play, whether it is going to be in Sarawak or whether they are going to play away.
Karim said this at the launch of Sarawak United FC's team jersey on Thursday night. The strength Sarawak United FC squad this year is added with 2 new import players, Francis Kohn from Ivory Coast and Boris Scott from Cambodia. Sarawak United FC will begin its campaign in the Super League tonight against Kedah Darul Aman FC with home advantage.
Bukit Aseh Assemblyman Chiang Jin I gave assurance that all pork on sale at SIBU markets is safe for consumption as it is free from the African swine fever ASF. In fact, he said a comprehensive inspection was carried out before the meat is allowed to be sold in the market.
Our Sarawak government been paying very much attention on this, all right? We make sure that all the products, all right, all the porks being produced, it is safe to use by our rakyat. So we would like to urge, the SIBU people, don't worry, it is safe to use.
SIBU Assistant Veterinary Officer Anthony Janggu opined that all pork sold in SIBU market is also produced by licensed farmers.
Ladang-ladang yang menghantar babi untuk disembelih di rumah sembelih itu adalah dari 4 ladang berlesen di sini. Semua kita telah cek secara random. Jadi hanya 1 yang itulah yang terjangkit, tapi kita sudah pakaikan semua lah. Jadi yang tidak berlesen kita telah ambil darah sebelum dihantar sana, kita cek darah dulu, test it dulu. Okay. Kemudian apabila dia negatif, baru babi itu boleh dihantar ke SMG abattoir.
Adding further, he said farms infected with the ASF virus have been closed down and the livestock has been disposed of.
In a similar development, the Minister for Modernisation of Agriculture and Regional Development, Datuk Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi Utom, called upon pig breeders to improve the biosecurity of their farms by ensuring the availability of facilities such as vehicle and food dips and intact perimeter fences. He said this is to control the movement of the livestock, vehicles, and individuals going in and out of their farm.
In addition, he said farmers are also reminded not to give food waste or kitchen waste to pigs and limit the entry of new animals without health status. Failure to report ASF infections to the State Veterinary Authority (TVS) will incur a fine of not more than 500 ringgit under Sarawak's ordinance under Section 32(2) of the Veterinary Public Health Ordinance 1999.
Welcome back to News at 5. Now, a jobless man suspected of murdering his friend during a Langkaw session or a drinking session on March 3rd was found to be an illegal immigrant staying in SIBU for about 20 years without a valid identification card or a passport. Further investigation found that the suspect hailed from Kalimantan, Indonesia. Acting SIBU Police Chief, Superintendent Dr. Colin Babat said the suspect has been remanded for 14 days under Section 6(1)(c) of the Immigration Act 1959/63. Meanwhile, the murder victim was a 44-year-old man from Roban. According to an earlier news report, Acting SIBU Police Chief Superintendent Dr. Colin Babat said a fight broke out between the deceased and the suspect while they were having a Langkaw session or a local brewed liquor at an abandoned building at Jalan Chama on the afternoon of March 2nd. During the drinking session, a dispute happened and the deceased said that he wanted to kill the suspect. Thus, the suspect grabbed a blunt object and struck the deceased on the head. The suspect then surrendered himself to the police shortly after. Meanwhile, an autopsy report will be done to identify the cause of the death. Now, over 900,000 kids, or 26.8% of the children population aged between 5 and 11 years old in Malaysia, have received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccines under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for Children, or PICKITS, as of yesterday, March 3rd.
Based on the COVID Now website, 63.3% of the adult population in the country have received the booster doses, and 97.6% have completed their vaccination. Meanwhile, 23,232,115, or 98.8%, have received at least one dose of the vaccine. For adolescents aged between 12 and 17, a total of 2,802,856 individuals, or 90.1% of the group, have completed the vaccination, while 93.2% have received at least one dose of the vaccine. A total of 96,621 doses of the vaccines were dispensed yesterday, bringing the cumulative number of vaccine doses administered under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program to over 60 million. Meanwhile, according to the Health Ministry's GitHub portal, a total of 86 deaths due to COVID-19 were recorded yesterday. 20 cases reported in Johor, followed by Perak 11 cases, Kedah 9 cases, Melaka and Sabah with 7 cases each. Deaths due to COVID-19 were also reported in Pahang and Kuala Lumpur with 6 cases each, Kelantan 5, Penang and Selangor with 4 cases each, Putrajaya 3, Perlis 2, while Sarawak and Terengganu each recorded 1 case.
A discussion will be held with the Ministry of Health, or MOH, to implement a more relaxed Standard Operating Procedure SOP for Tarawih prayers, as the Ramadan month is only about 1 month away. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Dato' Idris Ahmad, said the SOP would be prepared based on the current COVID-19 situation in the country.
Idris promised yesterday that Tarawih prayers will be allowed in mosques and suraus across the country during Ramadan, based on a more flexible SOPs to be released later. He said this after the flagging off of the Musaadah Keluarga Malaysia Aid Mission for flood victims in the East Coast. Regarding the Musaadah Keluarga Malaysia Aid Mission, Idris said about 40 volunteers will distribute financial contributions and basic supplies to more than 20,000 flood victims in Kelantan and Terengganu, with a special allocation of 3.77 million ringgit. He hoped that the assistance would ease the burden of those affected by the floods during these hard times. Continuous heavy rain since February 23rd has caused flooding in several districts in Terengganu and Kelantan.
The government of Malaysia and Singapore have reached a mutual agreement on the expansion of the Vaccinated Travel Land VTL initiative. Hence, beginning March 16, the VTL by air between Malaysia and Singapore is being expanded, including adding the Penang-Singapore air route.
Malaysia's Transport Minister Dato' Sri Wee Ka Siong in a statement said the VTL initiative will allow fully inoculated individuals travelling between Penang and Singapore and vice versa, with participating airlines under the VTL without being required to quarantine upon arrival. Adding to that, we said the Penang-Singapore VTL will commence with 4 flights per day equally shared between participating airlines operating in Malaysia and Singapore, and the sale of VTL air tickets will begin as soon as possible. The VTL was first initiated between the Changi Airport and Kuala Lumpur International Airport route on November 29 last year and has served 82,906 arriving passengers from Singapore as of February 28, 2022. We said the VTL initiative had played an important role in strengthening flight connectivity between Malaysia and Singapore, whilst contributing to economic and commercial recovery between the two neighbours, particularly in the tourism sector, which had been impacted heavily by the COVID-19 pandemic. Further information on pre-departure and entry conditions to Malaysia can be accessed via the links provided.
And that will be all the time that we have for the 5 p.m. news. Once again, I'm Hari Zainuddin. It's been a pleasure.